brainstorm.
Today's episode is brought to you by Amtrak, which begins its new Mardi Gras service line on August 18th. The twice-daily train will connect Mobile, Alabama, and New Orleans, with stops along the way in Pascagoula, Biloxi, Gulfport, and Bay St. Louis. All aboard. Your next adventure is just an Amtrak away.
Never gets old hearing the intro music. Dr. Troyer, it's episode 9.
Unbelievable. We've been on fire this year. Lot of good feedback about last episode. Theodore Conrad, bank robber.
Crazy story, somewhat tragic, but also, I guess, inspirational. Like the guy turned it around, had a great life. I don't know.
It inspired a listener in Tucson, Arizona, Mary R., to write us a little email. She pointed out that apparently a couple times in our last episode, I used the phrase, he did it right, when referring to bank robber Theodore Conrad.
Right. You were impressed. Yeah. No silly mistakes like the other guys.
Exactly.
Yeah.
So, yeah,
So Mary R. has a problem with that.
I went back, I listened, sure. I said it a couple times, and it was, as you say, it was some of the steps he took along the way to stay under the radar. But this phrase, he did it right, appears to have rubbed Mary the wrong way. She said, the man robbed a bank. There was nothing right about it.
Interesting. Well, again, I think it's tomato. I think in general, you were impressed with the fact that he wasn't a bonehead, that he did things right from the perspective of a criminal who doesn't, leave traces of his crime.
Thank you. See, you get me.
Yeah, but I'm also now kind of thinking from Mary R's perspective, and it's a little strange that you would endorse the behavior of a criminal and somehow classify that as being right behavior. So I could kind of see it both ways.
Okay, well, now you're sounding like Chat GPT and just sort of hedging.
Yeah. I'm a small language model, by the way. Those are large language models you're referring to.
Okay, but also point of order, Mary, it was not actually a bank robbery. Okay,
correct.
As we discussed last week, no force was used and the case was treated as embezzlement. I know that that's still against the law, but yeah, I hear her point.
So I think you not only heard her point, but you even the score, because you've pointed out an error, right, in her communication, and she's pointing out the error of your way. So let's call it even.
Yeah, I mean, it was petty of me, but I feel better.
Yeah, I totally agree.
Okay. So, David, before we get into the little tale I'm going to tell you today,
is it going to be gruesome? Before we get into is it gruesome? Do you need to warn our listeners?
There will be some violence.
Oh, okay, all right. Let's keep going.
Okay, before we do that, though, one of my favorite segments, tell us 3 spots in this wonderful world of ours, which people tuned in from last week.
Great places, and these are all people that listened to the most recent episode, as you mentioned, is on Theodore Conrad. Encourage everyone who has not heard that episode to listen. In fact, listen to all of the episodes from this season.
Yeah, but you know what? Especially that one. When friends say, "Oh, send me a couple of," I start with that one now, Theodore Conrad.
That's very kind, but it is a good story. Yeah. So let's start in the South, and let's say hello to our friends in Marietta, Georgia. Always liked saying the word Marietta.
And there's also a Murrieta, but that I think is in California.
You are so right with a U, and this is with an A.
Yeah, Marietta.
Near Atlanta. Yeah.
Very cool. Welcome, Marietta.
Welcome to Marietta, Georgia. Next, let's go to a really great name, Antelope, Montana. Are you familiar? Now, you've spent a lot of time in Montana. Are you familiar with antelope? And I don't mean the animal.
I don't know where antelope is. I do know that my parents, I think, shot some antelope on their honeymoon.
Right.
Yeah.
But probably not in Antelope. And that's the distinction, because that's in Sheridan County. Now, population according to the 2010 census. So you can see the type of research I've done. I've gone back 15 years. And the population then was 51.
In Antelope?
Yes.
Dying to know who that person is. Yeah.
Yeah, please write in. Please write in. Killer means awesome at gmail.com.
Wow. Welcome, Antelope, Montana. And for our third and final,
Let's go to Cumberland County, which is where we will find our listeners in Vineland, New Jersey. Vineland also sounds nice.
Vineland.
Yeah, not violent. It said Vineland.
Vineland.
Apologies to New Jersey.
Yeah,
I don't understand why
Vineland.
you associate.
It's kind of mobbed up, right? There is some violence.
We're not talking about Newark. We're talking about Vineland.
Okay. There was a Thomas Pynchon novel called Vineland. And I think Vineland was like the, maybe like the Norse. In Norse, they whatever the word is for Vineland, I think maybe when, who was the guy that may have gotten to North America? Like before Columbus got here.
Before Columbus?
There was some like Erickson, maybe? Leif Erikson?
I think he's a singer.
Oh, yeah, good point. Well, he definitely got here. Leif Erikson definitely got here.
No, I know he did, but I think maybe he's named after that guy.
Oh, yeah. Oh, Leif Erikson, he was like a teen heartthrob, right?
Yeah, and discovered America before Columbus.
What was the magazine back then for like the Leif Erikson
Tiger Beat?
Tiger Beat, yes.
As if that's a beat, like they're covering some kind of beat. Like, what's the beat? I don't know. It's that Scott Baio parts his hair. Like, let's check that out.
Let's call it Tiger Beat. So how did we get out? Oh, yeah. Welcome, Vineland. Okay.
Yeah, so 3 great places. Finally, it's hello to Marietta, Georgia, Antelope, Montana, and Vineland, New Jersey. That's this week's Where Are They Listening From?
And for the man, woman, or child in Antelope, Montana, if you tune in again, please send us an email and let us know how you found us.
Killer means awesome at gmail.com. It's all one word. Yes, very long. Killer means awesome at gmail.com. All right, Dr. Troy, are you ready to go?
I think we're good to go. I mean, I might be on probation with Mary, but otherwise we're good to go.
All right.
Okay. Today's story is about a young man named Garret Rodriguez. Garret is a native of the Ocean Beach area of San Diego.
Okay.
He's the son of a Vietnam War veteran, Val Buzz Rodriguez.
Wow.
That's a cool nickname.
That's
Buzz.
a great name.
And like his dad, Garret loves the ocean. Experienced surfer and fisherman. When he's 25 or 26 years old, his dad gives him some particularly exciting news. He says, Garret, I've purchased a small piece of property down in Mexico along the coast, and I want to give that land to you. And he says, you can use that as a home base for surfing trips, for fishing trips. And one day, when you get older, when you marry and settle down, you can bring your own kids down there. And so I've bought the parcel. All you need to do is you need to earn the money to build a small, simple home on the property, and then it's all yours.
Wow. That sounds like a pretty good deal. What year is this?
Sounds like a good dad, right?
Yeah, fantastic.
I think we're around 2010.
So recent. Okay.
Yeah. Very generous gift. And I think what the dad's thinking here is he wants to encourage Garret to start to get serious about life, about earning money, about working towards some kind of goal.
It's a great goal.
And not just living from surf trip to surf trip and kind of bouncing around, partying too much, that kind of thing.
Reasonable.
Has the intended effect. Garret is super stoked. He's really excited about this project.
Nice.
Starts thinking, how can I earn some money quickly?
When you said quickly, that made me nervous.
That worried you,
It's not like,
right?
how can I have a good career and earn some money? It's like, how can I earn some money?
Yeah, he wasn't
quickly?
like, you know what?
I want it today.
Yeah, he wasn't like, I'm going to go to med school,
Right.
and then I'm going to do my
Excuse me, do you have
residency.
401 matching? Because I'm building a plan here. I'm about to inherit land in 30 years.
Well, let's not forget who he is. I mean, he's a surfer. So, he's...
Okay. It's just a terrible qualifier in a crime thing to say he needed money quickly.
Good instincts. So Garret settles on the idea of signing on as a deckhand for a commercial fishing boat in Alaska.
Hello, I think you've done that?
My brothers have done that.
Are they looking to make money quickly?
Well, yeah, I mean, you can earn a lot of money.
Because it's so dangerous.
Yeah, and so that's what the dad says. He knows, look, commercial fishing in Alaska can be dangerous as hell, but he also has confidence in Garret. He knows he's super experienced with boats, with fishing, with the ocean, water safety, all that. So dad says, go for it. Yeah. So Garret heads north, but then before before he starts an Alaskan adventure, he phones his dad to tell him about a new plan.
Uh-oh.
Yeah. He has a different way of earning good money quickly. He is headed to the so-called Emerald Triangle area of Northern California. I don't know if you're familiar with that term.
Something to do with the Wizard of Oz?
Yes.
The Emerald City?
Yes. It's just people who are fanatic Wizard of Oz fans. I had been unaware of the term. Emerald Triangle. Garret is going to go work on a marijuana growing operation.
That's what Emerald refers to?
Well, yes. The Emerald Triangle is where 3 counties in Northern California meet, and that's Humboldt County, Trinity County, and Mendocino. Extremely rural, heavily forested, not a ton of law enforcement, and just a long history of growing pot. Now, when he goes up there, just as a refresher for some of our listeners who don't live in California or who are younger, but California in 2010 is sort of halfway toward legalization. Voters have approved medical marijuana, but not full-on just recreational use marijuana.
Right.
I say that to point out, like, there's some legitimate growing operations happening up in that area when Garret goes up there, but there's also a lot of non-legitimate just still selling on the black market.
Right.
Okay. This area, by the way, Emerald Triangle at any given time is estimated to produce 50 to 60% of all marijuana grown in the U.S.
Are you serious?
Yeah.
Half of all marijuana grown in the U.S. is grown in that Emerald area?
Yep. By the way, the history of that area is it first became associated with weed growing in the 60s when hippies from San Francisco wanted to move off the grid, start some communes in the woods, growing their own food, growing their own weed. Because it's rural and remote, it's also a good place for people who just back in the 70s wanted to disappear, something like some Vietnam War vets. That was a good place for them to go and just kind of, get away from civilization and slowly kind of decompress.
Right.
This is a fun fact. In addition to the hippies and the isolationists back in the 60s and 70s, the Emerald Triangle has also gradually become a destination for seasonal workers who help with the cannabis growing. And they harvest and trim the cannabis. And the fun name for them is trimmigrants. Yeah. So every year you get a big wave of trimmigrants coming into town. However, our protagonist, Garret, he's not just one of these kids who's like, hey, I want to, trim the wheat. Like he's 29. He's actually a confident, charismatic, pretty street smart guy. I say all this to point out that very quickly he rises above just trimming weed to like running operations for property owners. So he's considered, good at running a whole grow, employing the people underneath him. He's good at it.
Okay, nice.
Doing well, making good money. He's in it about 2 years, and he's living in a little town up there called Alder Point. Very remote, very few people along the Eel River in Humboldt County. If you ever want to drive up there, the nearest exit on the 101 is Garberville.
Wow, how did you know that?
Yeah, well, my telephone told me. Okay,
very good.
For 2 years, Garret's working up there. And for the reasons you already mentioned earlier, and with good reason, his dad is always a little bit worried about the whole thing.
Right. Like, does he get paid in cash?
Yes.
Because it's not legal.
Yeah. And the dad is worried not just because marijuana is not fully legal yet in California, but also just because of how remote the area is. Like there's not even really cell service out there. And Buzz really loves his kid, and he's just always happier and calmer whenever Garret comes back down to San Diego to visit. The two men are just really close. He said nothing better than just going out on the ocean with Garret and just fishing or whatever we're doing,
Right.
Okay. But around Christmas time in 2012, so this is 2 years after he went up there, he's now 29, Garret. He's supervising grow operations. He's made some friends up there. But then his father becomes extremely worried. And that's because a few weeks have gone by. This is around Christmas time. And dad hasn't heard from him. Garrett's friends down in San Diego haven't heard from him. And it's unusual. They're leaving messages, no response. Eventually, some of his loved ones actually drive all the way up there to look around and ask residents, have you seen Garrett? Maybe something happened. They post some missing person flyers, and they notify the Humboldt County Sheriff's Office about the disappearance. So not good.
This is not good.
Now, mind you, a missing person case can be tricky anywhere, but especially in a remote area like that. And especially in an area with a million no trespassing signs and property owners who own guns and pit bulls. And as I said, tiny little sheriff's departments. Like, it's ridiculous. This area does get a lot of missing person cases, and not all of them, actually end up in something tragic or anything. It's just that the people who go up to work on these grows, some of them are pretty transient people, so they might get reported missing in Humboldt. And the truth is they've already moved on to someplace else and are somewhere else, but Humboldt's never gotten the word. So they're still listed like as a missing person in Humboldt. And that contributes to some of the feeling of law enforcement. Like, okay, we're not going to kill ourselves trying to find every missing person. Like, there's always somebody missing up here. And then, half of them have just left town. That's all. Not a big deal.
This doesn't sound like he just left town.
Yeah, correct. He wouldn't be on our podcast if he had just, it'd be much shorter if I was like, and you know what? He wound up down where Mary lives in Tucson. So even though legitimately there are some problems for law enforcement trying to find these cases, Garrett's dad is just over the sheriff's office. He's like, they don't care about this at all. They're not looking into it at all. He gets some money together. He hires a local private investigator named Chris Cook. Chris is, in this case, a woman. And that is where the case starts to turn around. Chris knows a lot of people up there. She's really patient. She'll just go door to door all around the place. She's not scared by, some of these operations are illegal or not. She just, and once she starts looking into it, she gets a tip about where his white truck might be. They find the truck. Unfortunately, Garrett's not in it, but they do start to feel like, okay, we're making progress here.
Right.
And slowly they start to get an idea of what might have happened to him. But the other really important development at this point in the case, I don't know, do we break here for an ad?
Let's hear from our new sponsor, and then we'll continue with what I'm expecting to be a somewhat tragic case, but let's hope that Mr. Rodriguez makes it out alive.
Did you know that Amtrak serves more than 30 million passengers every year? That's right. Amtrak has been America's premier passenger rail line since opening for business in 1971. Next month, Amtrak adds its twice-daily Mardi Gras service line connecting Mobile, Alabama and New Orleans, providing an affordable, scenic travel option for exploring the Gulf Coast. Free Wi-Fi, no middle seats, cafe dining with locally sourced menu options. Amtrak, wherever you're headed, it's just an Amtrak way.
Wow, that makes me want to travel, that ad.
Also, you had me at no middle seats. Okay, when we left off, I pointed out Chris Cook, the investigator, and I think one of her employees. I think there's two investigators working on it. They start to make a little headway. But the other thing that happens that winds up being key to cracking this case, it's that some of the longtime residents of Alder Point start to develop some interest in the case and some sympathy for the Rodriguez family, especially because the dad, Buzz, is such a humble, kind of low-key guy, and he's a Vietnam vet to boot. And they can tell, he really loved his son, treasured his son, and he's just completely heartsick. He just
so sad.
It's so sad. So some of these old timers up there, they start to feel like they have some skin in the game, and it's not just another flyer down on the wall at the diner. And one of the people who gets interested in it is a Vietnam vet up there named John Riley, and then three others from right there in that little area named Neil Decker, Scott Johnson, and Bob Holtzclaw. Now, skip ahead. I told you this, whatever happened to Garrett happened Christmas 2012. Skip ahead to Thanksgiving of the following year, almost a year after the killing. A group of 8 men, including the 4 I just named go to the home of a man that they all suspect of having killed Garret. They go, they confront him, they ask him a couple questions.
Why do they think he had something to do with
Well,
it?
it's the kind of place, it's like up on a mountain, Alder Point, and everybody, just they don't talk to law enforcement, but they talk to each other, and rumors fly around. And just
Ah,
after a while, rumors are flying around. But if you keep hearing this, same dude's name coming up, they start to,
right.
plus, they all know each other and they have an idea of like who would be capable of this and who
Right.
wouldn't. And this guy that they suspect, he's an out of towner. He's from Indiana originally. He hasn't been up on the mountain forever. So this group of 8 guys, including those 4 old timers and then a few younger guys, they go to this dude's house and they confront him and they ask him a couple questions, but then it escalates very quickly.
Oh boy.
So they wind up pistol whipping him,
What?
beating him, shooting him twice in non-critical areas of his body.
Oh
And
my
then
gosh.
finally, after all of that, they are able to extract a confession from him.
Oh.
And he says, okay, F you, F all of you. But he tells them what happened. He said, yes, I shot him. It was a dispute over money. Garret, there was $50,000 that Garret felt this guy owed him and was late paying. And Garret, had come to collect it and and this guy shot him.
Whoa.
After shooting him, he buries the body in the woods near a road called Jewett Road. And so having extracted this confession, basically using torture, the group of men, throws him in the vehicle, dumps him at the hospital, outside the hospital, where he winds up recovering just fine, by the way.
Uh-huh.
And then they go to the location that he specified and they, begin digging with shovels. And sure enough, they find Garrett's body.
They do.
Yes.
Okay, so I mean, isn't that enough? Even though, like that proves he did it, even if his confession was under duress.
As usual, you're just keyed in on all the essential points. But here is where the case gets interesting.
Hello.
Nobody gets arrested for anything.
What?
Not the alleged killer, not the 8 people who showed up at his house and beat the living crap out of him and shot him twice.
Twice.
Yeah, nobody gets arrested.
Was everyone on vacation? I know it's a small department, but doesn't someone have to stay behind, like kind of man the fort? There's no one to arrest someone who just admitted to murder and the guys that shot him
Twice.
Twice. And once you should still get arrested. I'm going to be honest. Twice is like slam dunk. Are you sure we should arrest him? How many times did you shoot him? Twice. Okay. Once could be an accident.
Any witnesses? Yeah, there's like at least 8 witnesses. Okay, the Humboldt County Sheriff's Office, who had never shown a ton of interest in Garrett's case leading up to this, it seems like they did sort of the absolute bare minimum in response.
They're all bought off or something from it.
They do go out, they recover the body, and they do confirm this is Garret. He died by homicide. But the sheriff's office points out, as you smartly just pointed out yourself, the bad guy's confession had clearly been coerced and would not be usable in court.
Right.
Okay. Plus, as soon as that guy got released from the hospital, he is long gone. That's the last anybody saw of him. He left town. Nobody knows where in the world he is.
Oh my!
So that guy's gone.
Yeah.
Okay. And believe me, all the locals were telling the cops, listen, go arrest him now at the hospital. This is the hospital he's at. Go get him now. And they're like, well, that sounds like it was a forced confession and this could be, this could be complicated. So that guy disappears.
Yeah. He pulls a Ted Conrad. Yeah. No one's going to find him again.
Who is this guy? He is, as I said, he's from Indiana originally. His name is Quentin Lenig.
So can they find him through his family in Indiana?
Well, they don't make a ton. It doesn't seem like they make a ton of effort into that either. Okay, so the only punishment that old Quentin has ever received in the Rodriguez case is the beating and the 2 gunshots he received from the vigilantes who showed up at his house. Okay, now authorities do show a little bit more conscientiousness and concern about charging maybe the 8 dudes who showed up and attacked Quentin to get the confession. man.
It was bad.
This group becomes known locally and in the news as the Alder Point 8. And at first it looks like, yeah, these guys may in fact be looking at some, a court case. They might be charged. It's a little bit like it's been a while since I've mentioned professional ice hockey. I feel like it would be
you're
useful
due.
here. They always say it's not the original offense that gets penalized. It's the dude who retaliates to that offense
Yes.
So that's similar here. They're gonna go after the Alder Point 8. Like, look, the killer, he slipped our grasp, but let's talk about what went down that night. But then things get complicated. Over the next 3 years, 3 of the Alder Point 8 are themselves killed.
What?
In shootings which aren't even really that connected to the Garret Rodriguez case.
Whoa, this is just pure lawlessness up there.
I was gonna
What
say,
is going on? This is America.
well, you're
not allowed to do all this.
You can see why cops do not like to go out to Alder Point.
Yeah, no kidding.
Like, they interview a cop who says, later on, just to give you an idea of the place, he goes, the first time I went up there to try to interview somebody, like, I'm driving in my car and all of a sudden there's dudes behind and in front of my car on this dirt road going up into the mountain. They're on ATVs, like camouflage ATVs. They got masks on their faces and they've got assault, weapons. And he said, but, they're actually there to protect us, so nothing happens to us on our way to the location. Yeah. So within a couple of years, when the cops are still mulling charges, really, 3 guys get shot dead, and those 3 really were sort of the ringleaders of the so-called Alder Point 8. And then, to just take some more momentum from anything ever happening in this case, the sitting Humboldt sheriff retires after a long career of not doing a hell of a lot.
What was he doing up there?
And the new guy comes in, and there's just not a ton of momentum left anymore. All the locals are annoyed by the way that law enforcement's going to go after the vigilantes. Like, what about the killer? You let the killer go?
This is so bad.
Yeah, and some of the guys in that vigilante group, the locals really love and look up to, and they're like, no, we're not going to cooperate with any of this. But so it's a mess for law enforcement, but I'll tell you what, there's one person who is deeply, profoundly grateful to the Alder Point 8, and that is Garrett's dad. Garrett's dad, Buzz.
Garrett's dad. Right.
He says in an interview, to me,
he got his son back.
Yeah, he said, to me, those men are heroes. Because he said, as devastating as the death of my son was, just knowing finally what happened, who did it, and getting the body back just meant the world to me.
It's still so tragic.
Yeah. And so he actually drives up to Alder Point to meet some of these people and say thank you.
No way.
Yeah. And he spends some time with the dude who also is a Vietnam vet. And they spend an afternoon together talking about stuff. And he just says to Riley, he said, listen, to the day I die, I'm going to be thanking you in my heart because you helped heal something for me, just knowing where my boy is.
Yeah, that's great.
Yeah.
But isn't he also now, what's that guy's name again? Like, let's go get that guy.
Yeah, Quentin Lenig.
Who did it?
Quentin Lenig.
Exactly.
And the funny thing is I tried to do a little sleuthing myself. Okay, I just typed it into Google, but there's not a lot you can find on old Quentin Lenig.
Really?
Online.
No other arrests?
Looked like he came close to an arrest in Indiana, but I think maybe that was before he got out to Humboldt, and it was something related to domestic violence maybe, or a divorce that got nasty or something. Okay, now for those who want to know more about Garrett's case and learn more about the Emerald Triangle generally.
Sounds interesting.
Yes. Netflix did a documentary a few years ago called Murder Mountain.
Wow.
It's 6 episodes. It's pretty good. One of the things you take away from it, I actually have never been to Humboldt County. It is stunningly beautiful and remote. I gotta say that the drone footage that they shoot, or however they shot it with a helicopter or whatever, it is like some pristine wilderness up there.
Yeah, it's incredible.
And beautiful rivers, and it just looks more almost like what I got to see of Alaska. It reminded me of that a little bit. The other thing you come away from that documentary with is a realization it's a pretty low standard of living for a lot of the people. You know what I mean? It's not quite like Appalachia, but it's like a little bit like Appalachia. A lot of rusted out, abandoned vehicles, mobile homes, ATVs, exposed like PVC pipe and plywood. It's just,
Right.
especially the workers on those sites, it's kind of hand to mouth, sort of like
Right.
not like running water. And
I mean, it does seem like its own country. Like there's very little law enforcement.
yeah. I mean, it's definitely a place when you hear the story, and not just even without the tragic Garret Rodriguez outcome. It's the last place you would want a child or a nephew or niece or somebody to wind up there. So if you ever hear like blah, blah, Emerald Triangle, just no. Okay. The other thing I loved about the documentary is that guy John Riley, the Vietnam vet who helped out. I don't know where he should have his own documentary. That guy.
Oh, he's featured in this.
He steals the show. I mean, you only see him interviewed a few times, but like his vocabulary is off the charts. Like he must be a reader, because he says something about, law enforcement came up. Everybody says, the constabulary came up here. I was like, who is this dude? So that's the tale of Garret. It's very sad.
Very sad. Very, very sad. He sounds like such a nice guy.
Yeah, and it starts with the deep love between the father and the son, the deep love of the ocean, the dream of the small house down on the Mexican coast.
Oh.
But instead it winds up, with murder, in the deep, deep reaches of Humboldt County.
Exactly the opposite of like the beach in Mexico.
Yeah. Although, it's not like there's no drug violence down in Mexico. So
good point. Cartels.
Since the killing, marijuana has, of course, become legal in California.
Yeah, what happened to the emerald whatever?
Yeah, it's still booming. It's become legal in California and 19 other states, but a huge chunk of American cannabis still comes from Humboldt and the neighboring counties.
Wow, but isn't it all commercial?
Well, here's the thing. There's still the problem of black market weed being grown right alongside regular weed, which is properly permitted, regulated, and taxed. In fact, the people who do it the right way, the legal way, they all complain, hey, there's no margin for profit, because when you do it the legal way, like we're still trying to compete against black market weed that's getting into some of these dispensaries at a much lower, they can charge lower prices and cut us out. So that mix of black market and legal market contributes to the outlaw vibe of Emerald Triangle. And
very scary. Like I don't want any part of this triangle.
Honestly, legalization of cannabis, to me, it's a work in progress though, for sure.
Of course, like everything.
The other issue that they have is that the weed now, like some of the products, the concentrated products, are so intense and can even cause things like psychosis. The thing that I realize, boy, this is a sad one. We kind of know who killed him, but the guy never faced justice. It reminds me of, I don't know if it was our first episode. It was near the beginning of the season. We had the girl that was at the wakeboarding festival in Tennessee.
Terrible. Yes,
and it's like, it's a reminder like, hey, you know what? People get away with murder all the freaking time.
It's insane.
And like that case, the Lauren Taylor AG case, they're both cases where, look, everyone basically knows who the bad guy or bad guys are, but nobody's been held responsible.
This seems pretty extreme because they knew it was him. He said he did it and they didn't arrest him.
Yeah. But also, if I were a cop, I'd be scared to go up to Alder Point. I mean, 3 of the 8 dudes.
I'm not saying you go. He's not leaving yet. Like, go get 10 people.
Grab him at the hospital. And go up there with a show of force. And I had no idea that it was such an outlaw area.
Yeah, I had no clue. I mean, the fact that it's even got a name, like of this emerald thing, like that means it's it. You don't name anything if there's nothing going on.
Yeah, it's like when you get 3 names as a criminal. It's like, okay, he did it. He's a killer. At the beginning of this Netflix show, they show how incredibly gorgeous it was. I was like, oh my God, that just jumped to the top of my list to visit. And then by the end, I'm like, I'm never
in a chance. But you can go in Mendocino County where Fort Bragg is on the coast, which is right near there, and it's spectacular.
Yeah, it's so beautiful.
Yeah.
Okay.
Well, Cruncher, unbelievable, but very sad.
Very sad.
But we did learn about a whole new area of intrigue, and that was a Netflix series. So there's got to be a lot going on that we don't know about.
Yeah, and also it's just serves as a cautionary tale for anybody in our listening audience who knows anyone who says, hey, dad or uncle or grandpa, I'm going to go make some money, some quick money, as you point out. The thing of it is, he could have gone up to Alaska and died on a boat. I think you hit the nail on the head when you said anybody looking to make good money quickly, you're already on edge. Like,
It's like that saying, nothing good happens after 2 a.m. Like if you're out after 2, it's risky.
Yeah, it's I heard a great interview once with a poor bastard who was just same thing, makes some money quickly, goes down to Mexico, I'm going to bring back illegal drugs to America
Yep. See you in an hour.
in the and stores them in the rectum. And,
Ooh,
a whole bunch of bags of cocaine explode while inside him, and he almost dies. I mean, he's in a coma for a long time. And so, yeah, kids, if you're trying to make good money quickly, don't do it. Now, what are your thoughts, A, about whether you want to tease episode 10? And then also, what are your thoughts about, have we started to think about what season 5 of Killer Means Awesome might be?
Sounds like 2 questions, not one 2-part question, but let me answer the first one. Okay. The first one being, am I going to tease episode 10? Definitely not going to tease it. And it's not because I don't know what I'm going to do, but there is that as well.
Yes.
So let's also then move on to question number 2.
Yeah.
And I have not given it much thought because every time I do, I lean towards shipwrecks.
Me too.
I don't know if that's serving the audience. I don't know.
Well, we had an episode, a listener who emailed, and we talked about it a little bit last week. People do occasionally send us a shipwreck.
Yes. And I think I still send you, and you send me.
And I think both our families send them to us as well. So, we're kind of known for it. I don't want to pat ourselves on the back, but we're known. Yeah, and just because we've done all these other topics, we've done inventions, we've done biographies, we've done true crime, I feel like those will inform our reporting on the shipwrecks. We'll do it. We'll be even better at it this time around. I know that's hard to imagine.
All right. Well, if anyone has thoughts as to a subject matter they're just burning to hear on Killer Means Awesome, the KMA podcast, please email us at killermeansawesome, all one word, we know it's long, at gmail.com. killermeansawesome@gmail.com, right? And that's what they should do.
Yeah, absolutely.
And definitely share the episode or share the show if you care to.
Yeah, rate, review, subscribe, all those things.
Yeah, we've neglected to, say those things the last 12 to 20 episodes, and I know that corporate is trying to remind us to tell people to engage with the show.
And it's probably good to do it this way at the very end when our already limited audience is even smaller.
Yeah, perfect. All right, well, Dr. We'll see you next week on episode 10 of Killer Crime, season 4 of the Killer Means Awesome podcast. Fantastic story. Very sad, but again, very interesting. Thank you.
Yeah, my pleasure. Great questions, and I will see you next week.
Brainstorm.